Hey guys, welcome to this month's edition of the Jazz Jam. This is for May 2019. Can you believe it? 19. I hope that you've been enjoying your spring so far. I know I have been working in the garden. Things are starting to bloom now. Things that I've planted, I'm starting to see some fruition. No fruit, because I didn't plant any fruit, but I see some pretty flowers. And that reminds me, that's a lot like playing ukulele. Sometimes you put in the work and you water 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 and you say, oh my gosh, am I doing something wrong? It's just not fitting. And then one day, it just fits. Works out perfectly and it seems like the most natural thing in the world, and you forget that actually took a lot of work to get there. So, celebrate your victories today. Learn something new. We've got some songs coming up. I've got Honeysuckle Rose. That's a new one on the docket this month. Lots of 2/5s and F, which is a lot of fun. We've got Stompin' at the Savoy, which is a classic. We've done this a couple of times. And this time we've got some melody coming in on the bridge, which is something a little bit different. We are going to be doing All of Me. All of Me is a jewel that we've done a few times as well, so hopefully that's becoming a little familiar. I think we've done it 2 or 3 in the past year. So we're going to dust that one off. Remember these movements. And we'll give you a couple extra ditties on that one this month, exploring Ella Fitzgerald's vocal riffs, which we've done before. I will also be including that in the PDF. Then we have a winner chicken dinner. Kenneth guessed correctly on Louis Armstrong's nickname Satchmo. And I'm sure most of you knew the answer, and I'm so sorry that I had such a tiny window for you to answer, but I had this video to make today. So we will be doing Sweet Georgia Brown, including a really fun intro that sounds like this. And I'll show you all about it in the following videos. So have fun. Let me know if you have any questions. And thanks for joining. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Every honeybee fills with jealousy when they see you out with me. I don't blame them, goodness knows. Honeysuckle rose. When you're passing by, flowers droop inside, and I know the reason why. You're much sweeter, goodness knows. Honeysuckle rose. Don't buy sugar. You just have to touch my cup. You're my sugar. You're so sweet when you stir it up. When I'm taking sips from your tasty lips, seems the honey fairly drips. Your confection, goodness knows. Honeysuckle rose. Chords. G minor 7. C7. F6. Now if you prefer to do a regular F here, every time you see an F6, you're welcome to it. D7. I have a barred version written. If you would like to do the Hawaiian D7, you are welcome to it. F7. That's an F chord with your ring finger down on the E flat note. Really adds a lot of sass. B flat 6. Well, this is an easier way than playing B flats. You could play a B flat if you'd like, but here's your B flat 6. And yes, it looks exactly like the G minor 7. That's because they both share the same 4 notes. Strum. We're keeping this strum nice and simple and easy. We're doing a lot of the pulses, still putting emphasis on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the downbeat. So basically it's our basic jazz strum that sounds like this. Except I'm gonna throw a little bit of excitement at the end, so it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's try that with open hand here. We're gonna just be opening and closing our hand. Eventually we'll be doing it with the chords with a pulse where we press and release, press and release. And when I say release, that doesn't mean lifting off the string, just releasing the string from its touch with the metal so that it doesn't make any touch anymore and it quits the sound. The easiest way though to practice with the right hand and the left is to do a little open mute like this. Now the right hand is doing the same thing the entire time. It sounds like this. That's what the right hand is doing all along, the whole time. All right, so how do we get that jazzy sound? Well, the left hand is going to have to do a little mute. And it's not so much about the muting, it's more about the reveal of the sound. So we're going to reveal the sound at some points, and then we're going to quit it. Reveal the sound and quit it. So it'll sound something like this. Try that with me with an F6. Looks like a D minor chord, but it's an F6 in this case. And if you'd like to just strum the bottom 3 strings, the G, the C, and the E string, and just strum into the A but don't hit it, let your finger get caught on it, then you can practice your pulse with the left hand, because we want to make sure our pulsing involves muting all the strings that we're strumming. Because this chord shape it has an open A, we're just not going to hit the A. So it'll sound like this. Ready and F6. Now if you end up hitting the last string, sometimes it's really hard not to, so here's an alternative. Anytime you're using this idea and the open A string is the one that's open, which happens a lot, you can just, when you strum through it, just catch your finger. Takes a little finesse. Essentially, we don't want that A string ringing, so we would just strum into here like this. But anyway, I hope you got a good idea about what that strum sounds like. Practice that with each one of the chords, and you'll be ready for the strum along. Honeysuckle Rose melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bracket 2, 2, 7, 8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, 4. G minor 7, C7, G minor 7, C7, G minor 7, 2, 3, 4, C7, 2, 3, 4, F6, 2, 3, 4, G minor 7, C7, F6, 2, 3, 2 more. We've got a 1, 2, D7, and repeat to the top. G minor 7, C7, G minor 7, C7, G minor 7, hold it, C7, 2, 3, 4, F6, G minor 7, C7, bracket, 2, F6, hold it, 2, 3, to the bridge, F7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, B flat 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, G7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, C7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, G minor 7, C7, G minor 7, C7, G minor 7, hold it, C7, and we've got F6, 2, 3, 4, G minor 7, C7, F6. We'll just take it out here. So that ending that we used on the other song, Stomping at the Savoy, works well here as well. Numbers. Here we go. Key of F. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Start on the 2 and 5. 2, a 5, a 2. Hold that. Into the 5 and the 1. Little 2, 5, and 1. Hold the 1. Head into the 6 dominant. Alright, G minor, 5, 2, 5, the 2, hold it, hold the 5, now the 1, 2, 5, and the 1, hold the 1 here for 8 beats, 5, 6, 7, dominant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now the 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, now the 6, you know what that means, what happens after 6, you betcha, 2, well 5, oh shit, that wasn't the 6, dominant 1, 5, Nice job. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Your gown baby's got a shade on, sweet Georgia Brown. 2 left feet, but also neat has sweet Georgia Brown. They all sigh and wanna die for sweet Georgia Brown. I tell you this why, you know I don't lie, not much. It's been said she knocks them dead when she hits the down. Since she came, well it's a shame how she cools them down. Fella she can't get, must be fella she ain't met. Georgia named her, Georgia claimed her, sweet Georgia Brown. Chords. For the intro, I've got this nice little walk down happening. C7. Pull it back 1 fret, you've got yourself a B7. Back a fret, B flat 7. Back 1 more fret, A7. And then I just switch over here for a Hawaiian D7. And then a G7. And a C. Now you might have noticed that the same shape goes along, and they're all called 7s. They're all called 7s, and it goes backward in the alphabet, in the musical alphabet. C, B, B flat, A. If we could go further back, we'd be on A flat. So that is called a chromatic walk. And the way I'm doing it here is that I'm pressing and then I relax and I slide. Press, relax, and slide. Press, relax, and slide. Press, and then when I switch from an A7 to a D7, notice how I'm using my middle 2 fingers. I've got this finger poised to swap for the G7. So that is very important that you are very efficient. You want to be as efficient as possible. So you're going to want to practice that. Now another thing I want you to notice is how my wrist changed. I've got my bar chord, so my finger is parallel with this fret. And then my middle finger's there, so everything's very parallel. I mean, it's right along. But that doesn't stay that way. As soon as I go to my D, I'm swiveling that wrist up, and I got my first finger touching up here. So watch as I do it. Now I'm completely diagonal to the fret. So just keep that in mind. I've got my finger here, bum, 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 and then I switch. Dum, 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 dum. All right? So here's some other things that are happening in this song. Different chord combos. That's what we'll go over right now. We've got an A minor. Now, this is called a 2-5-1. This is my 1, A minor. So I'm going to go to the B because A, B, 2, 1, 2. 1 is the A, B is the 2. I'm going to play a B diminished. Now, if you can make this shape, this is awesome. I learned this shape from Daniel Ward, flamenco ukulele artist. Fantastic. And at first it was really tough, and now it is like the most natural thing in the world. So you've just got to stretch that ring finger down to fret 4. 1, 2, and then stretch that ring down to 4. Now I do have an alternative, because the next chord we're going to do is an E7. So if you'd like to do your B flat diminished this way, and then you just have to lift your middle finger. That is an option for you. I like this one. So if you can get your fingers wrapped around the idea of switching back and forth between these, or you can do this. Do you hear that? How it's similar? It's just a little different though. Now we've got a D minor, and that's going to lead right into G7, which is our 2-5-1 in C, up to a C. So this song has quite a few 2-5-1 patterns in it, or the two patterns. It has a 2-5-1 in A minor, and a 2-5-1 in C. Strum. Here's the intro strum. Now that's a little bit complex, so you'll see it there on the paperwork, but if you would prefer, you could just do this. Just fine. Now the more covered strings you have, the better. So if you switch this C, the C that is on the page for simplicity, if you switch it to this C, then that would sound really cool. And if you switch your Hawaiian D7 to a barred D7, that would sound really cool. And if you switch your G7 just on the right hand, just don't hit the G string at all, then you could have everything all figured out here, and it would sound like this. Here's the simple strum. Ready, and. So it's completely up to you. If you cover all of your strings, you have more control. When I got here to the A7, you'll notice that I did this. So as far as jazz strumming goes, it's not just all up to the right hand. I wish it were. You'll notice our right hand is mainly doing this. The right hand's actually doing very, very simple work. It's all up to the left hand. So at the very basic level, your strum would be like this, as illustrated with just the open and down palm, just so you can hear the muted parts. Sounds like this. Now you can listen to the play along. I'm going to be doing something a little more interesting that is just not possible to notate without being very confusing. So I'm gonna let you use your ears on this one. Start with just this, and when you hear me doing things in the demo that involves holding down chords longer, like that, I mean that intro does have a tab, but the rest of the stuff, if you hear some of this, all I've done is lifted my hand and let it ring. Right hand hasn't really changed. So, good luck with that. All right, play a long time. Now, I'm gonna keep this at a moderate tempo. It might be tough when those 2-5-1 switch-arounds come around in the center. So if you're having a hard time with the speed, I want you to utilize the YouTube playback speed mode, which is in the little ... on the corner of your screen. You can take it down to 75%, and that might be a little easier for you. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, B, B flat, A, D, G, C. A, da, 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 and D, ba, 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 G7, dum, da, da, do, da, da, do, do, ba, ba, da, bo, boom, and head to the C, D, G7, C, to B, E7, and the A, ba, 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 D7, ba, da, ba, 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 da, da, da. Here we go to the 2, 5, 1s. A, ba, ba, B, E, A, da, 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 D, G7, and C7, B7, B flat 7, A7, D7, G7, C. Numbers. Whew. All right, so we're going to be flipping between two keys here. We got the key of C and the key of A minor. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. We got the tonic, the 7, flat 7, the 6, the 2, the 5, the 1. Dominant 6. Bam, ba, da, dum, da, 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 da. Dominant 2. Bam, ba, da, 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 bo, da, da, ba, ba, bo. Dominant 5. Bum, ba, 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 da, ba, bum, ba, bo, ba, da, ba, bum, bum. Go to the 1. Soft 2, the 5 and the 1. Now we got the 2, 5, 1 and A. Da, da, and 6. Now we're back to A7. Now it's called the 6 chord. Ba, 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 ba. Dominant 2. Ba, da, ba, bum, ba, ba, da, ba, 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 da, da, da. 2, 5, 1 and A minor. A minor. Ba, ba, da, a 2, a 5, and a minor 6. Now we're back in C. 2, 5, 1, 7, flat 7, 6, 2, 5, 1. And a 1, 2. Savoy, the home of sweet romance. Savoy, when you had a glance. Savoy, give happy feet the chance to dance. chords. C13. No A string on this one, guys. F. Now this is a funny F. And you can always play a regular F if you want, but man, this one's really cool. Third finger on the bottom 2 strings, fret 3. Then you're gonna put your first finger on like an A minor chord, right? Fret 2 of the G string, that's an A note. And you're gonna let that first finger just kind of fall and touch the string underneath so that it cannot ring. You want it to tickle the pillow of your index finger, okay? So you've got that third finger strong. That means this muscle here is getting a good workout, and the tendon which controls this part of the hand. And then the first finger is really putting pressure on the tip. Usually when you're barring, you want to put pressure all the way across, but we're not barring here. We are pressing one string and muting the next. So if you have a lot of trouble with this one, try with just your index, like you're going to play an A minor chord with your index and just let it touch the C string underneath. See if you can get that sound. A note and a plunk. Then you're going to take your ring finger and press those 2 strings underneath it. Now, I used to spin crepes when I first got home from school. And when I was being trained to spin the crepe, the lady told me, listen, we're gonna drop the dough and you're gonna take this little wooden dowel, kind of look like a rake without prongs at the end, right? Just a little piece of wood with a wooden stick. And you have to take that wooden stick, you gotta stick it on the grill, and you just have to go like this with your finger. And you're just allowing it to just go in a circle on the grill. If you try to put pressure down to make it happen, it will snag the dough and then your crepe is ruined. And I mean, I'm talking like we were making, these are big crepes, kind that you fill and stuff with all kinds of delicious things. So we pour the dough on and I put the little dowel on, and in my mind I was thinking, I need to make it move the dough. And so I was kind of putting a little bit of pressure to move the dough and it would just snag it. And I finally learned that just what she had told me, less effort gives a much better result. So I put the dowel down and I just went whoop, as if I didn't care what was happening down below. I just went whoop, and it would make the perfect crepe, I have to say. It was a great crepe. Kind of the same case here. I've taught this to private students and it feels like they're trying to make it happen. Whereas you really just want to you're going to be rolling into the pinky side of your ring to just push those 2 strings down. Really think about what I said earlier, that it doesn't take a lot of pressure. It doesn't take as much pressure as you think. So this is actually a very easy chord to play. Don't overthink it. Like this. Next chord, G flat diminished 7. I aim for fret 5. You see the little dot there? We're going to do like a G shape, not down here on the regular strings of a G chord, but instead up toward my chin. 5, 6, 5. And again, we're going to ignore that last string. Now to switch from a G flat diminished 7 to a B flat, we're going to relax the hand once again. Relax, and we're going to swivel that middle finger down to fret 6, and then the other 2 fingers just crisscross. Here's an up close, so I've got this. Middle finger moves while the other 2 swap. So come back with your middle finger down. Middle finger slides up while the other 2 crisscross. This is going to be very important that you just practice that. If you get a buzz, anytime you get a buzz, just slide toward the middle. That's what I just did. I was a little too far back. You hear that? Buzz. Just slide right into the middle. So there's G flat diminished 7, crisscross to B flat. Ignoring ignoring the A string the whole time. When you're doing a bar chord, you want to focus on pressing all of the strings evenly across the metal bar. What can happen sometimes is if you try to press your tip down, if you put too much pressure in the tip of your finger, then it creates an arch. We want to avoid the arch. So I actually want you to take that first knuckle and invert it. Press it into the fretboard. Your thumb is nice and strong on the back. And you're going to bar all the way across. Remembering that in this song, you're actually going to be pulsing that bar. So you get a little bit of a rest in between. Now, of course, for all of our bars, it's not just a bar all the way across. We have to add some fingers. So here is our B flat 7. Now I had a little thud thud happening here on the E string, so I had to press more pressure onto that. As soon as I heard it, my first instinct was to just press that knuckle further into the fretboard. B7. E flat 7. E7. A flat. Now in the play along I'm going to call out A flat 7, but it is just easier to do just a little A flat, which is a bar with like an F shape hanging below it. If you would like to do the 7, you take that pinky and add it down to the very next fret on the C string. So for the A flat 7, we would have our pinky down on the 6th fret of the C string. You might notice if you were to cut off the ukulele from the top going up like this, it looks like an F7. And we'll just drag that shape up for the A. D flat 7. And we just lightly take the pressure off, not lifting our finger from the string, glide back 1 fret and press for C7. When we do our turnaround section, we're going to have a 1-6-2-5 in F. That means is we're going to start off with that same F we did earlier. Then we're going to actually take that middle finger. Hopefully you haven't been using that middle finger down here. I suppose you could, but I recommend you don't. Middle finger is going to walk back and your ring finger is going to come over. But this first finger is still muting the C string. As you can see in the diagram, there's an X over that string. So this is basically a Hawaiian 7 with a C note on top, which is still a Hawaiian D7, which is still a D7, but now G minor. If you did my song from scratch video, watched it for I Can't Give You Anything But Love, you'll recognize this one. Ignore the A string at the bottom. And then back into that C13 again. I've put 2 strums on here because we're going to put some emphasis, a little more down up emphasis on some things, and some things are just going to be pulses. So on the verse strum, you're going to see a lot of zeros down on all the down beats, and all the up beats have a double X, just on the E and the A string. And that just means that I'm pulling up lightly with my finger, but my left hand is muted. So it sounds like this with an F chord. That's the first measure. The second measure sounds like this. Except we're not just playing the F for that, we're switching chords. It'll sound like this. might be some slight variations from what I put on the page. The page is a guideline, and when you're actually doing the switch from here to here, it's going to be a little bit tricky and a little bit different. So just play along with me, listen to the example, and mimic it with your uke. Here I start on the C7. Here I go up the neck. Here's where we're getting into the bridge. The bridge strum is a little bit different. We're going to have the same thing happening on the first measure of each chord. On the second measure, we're going to just put all of those down ups at the end because it kind of amps us up to go into the next chord. So it'll sound something like this on the B flat. Ready and so could you hear how when I came around to the end also, it did change just a little bit. Basically, when I go up to the D flat, it's only one measure, so I'm gonna just go straight to that second measure of our strum, which is where I go bump, bump, ba-da-dump. All the excitement happens on the second measure of the bridge strum. So bump, bump, ba-da-dump, bump, bump, ba-da-dump, like that. Now that is a nice little thing that you could practice back and forth. I'm on the D flat 7, and we're going to play just the one measure. Then I go to my C7, which is back 1 fret. Then I add my ring finger to get back into my verse again, like that. So play that with me from the D flat. Ready and 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. So as far as the strum goes for the verse, it's a bit tricky. Two, three, four, 1, 2. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 5, 1, back to the top. 5, 1, flat 2 diminished, 4, 5, 1, dominant 1. We got a 4, sharp 4, 4, all dominants here. Flat 7, 7, flat 7, flat 3, 3, flat 3, still dominant. We've got a augmented 5th and 5. 5, 1, 5, 1, flat 2 diminished, 4, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. You got a little 1, 7, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All of me. Why not take all of me? Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Chords. Hopefully these are becoming somewhat familiar for you. C, 4, 3, 3. E, 4, 4, 2. A7, 4, 3, 4. D minor. D major. There's that G7 again. F major, 7. F minor. We've got a basic A7. And then we have that beautiful turnaround like we had earlier. C, A7, D minor, G7. On the right hand, I'm doing a simple strum. Now, I am muting with the left hand on all of my chords, so if yours doesn't sound that way, it might sound more like this. Once again, I'm avoiding that G string. The difference between this and this is huge, so if you can get this left hand muting. That's why we're doing all of these partial chords, by the way, so that we can control the sounds of the mute. All of me melody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest, 1, 2. Rest, 2, 3, 4. And a rest. Rest, 2, 3, 4. And a rest, rest. Rest, 2, 3, 4. And a rest, rest. 2, 3, 4. And a rest. 2, 4, rest. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. 2, 3. Now I'm going to call out the chords for you on this song. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, C. Then E chord. 5, 6, 7, A, 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, D minor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. E7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. D7, or a D chord in this case. 5, 6, 7, 8, D minor, G7, and C, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, E, or E7, 5, 6. Next page, A7, and D minor, F major 7, F minor, and C, 2, A7, D minor, G7, and a 1, a 6, 2, 5, turn around. Now we're calling out the numbers. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Dominant 3, dominant 6, minor 2, dominant 3, minor 6, dominant 2, minor 2, dominant 5, back to the 1, dominant 3, dominant 6, minor 2, 4 major 7, 4 minor, to the 1, and the 6, and the 2 minor, and the 5, to the 1, 6, 2, 5, and 1. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the videos today. If you have any questions, let me know. If there's anything you'd like me to go further in depth on, I'm happy to revisit and chat with you. And we'll see you at the Jam on May 25th. Happy strumming. I'm sorry I messed you up. Bob said, "Oh yeah, you were right. I could tell that Perry was upset in that video you posted."
I wasn't upset.
You weren't upset. That's the thing. I said he wasn't upset.
I just love the ukulele so much.
Try to keep a pleasant look on your face.
Okay. Alright, well, we'll start over from the beginning.
I'm sorry, I messed it up. Can you come in here and do this?
If I was dressed up like a little lamb or something like that, like we had like Little Bo Peep and a lamb or like something like that, then it would really look like you were making me. I'm not gonna do it.
Like a baby bonnet on your head?
No, that's an example of something we're not gonna do. Please don't make me do that.
Someone's calling you.
Please don't make me do that, Daniel.
Oh. 1.
Yeah. Ready.
1.